Hi there, Tin from Kaon. Today we're looking at the camera relocation bracket for the Prado 150. We're at the back of the Prado and we're going to have a chat about the camera relocation bracket we've come up with for the Prado. And that's because people want to run a bin bag on the back of their vehicle, but because the factory camera is sitting right there, it means you can't see out the back of your car when you're all set up and off camping. So what we've done, we've made a bracket that relocates a factory camera and moves it back down to a position down here. You don't need to cut or extend any wires. You don't even need to take the trims off inside the vehicle. We just reroute it down. There's plenty of cable to position it there. It also makes backing up your trailer easier because you'll actually be able to see the tow ball much more easily than the factory position. So if you're running a bin bag, you're most likely not going to have the spare wheel cover or the backing plate. But to install that, remove those first, and then we want to remove the spare wheel. So we'll go ahead and do that, and then I'll show you how to remove the camera. We have the spare wheel off now, and you can see that the camera is actually attached to this metal bracket with two M8 bolts. You'll need a 12mm socket to get those off, so we'll go ahead and take that off. Once you get this off, you probably want to unplug it just to make it a bit easier to work with. Now, a little tip here is generally these get very dusty. Now there's a little clip here to sort of press on, and you need to unclip this little tab, but see how dusty mine is? It doesn't really want to move. So I find if you get a little screwdriver, you can just lift up that tab. See how I've just lifted up that tab? It comes off much more easily. And there you go. So that's the camera on the Toyota bracket. Now you can take that one off and take the camera off, but I find just undo the little screws on the back and the camera will come out. It also normally comes with a shroud, but I removed that a long time ago to get a bit more viewing angle. So we'll leave this to one side first, and then we'll talk about how to move this cable. So this cable here is attached to the car with a couple of clips. So this one here is quite easy to undo. Just squeeze the little tabs inside and you'll be able to push that back through. Now this one here, we'll move this over here. Now this clip here that clips this plug to the door, this is the tricky one. Now you can see it's got two sort of parts to it, and it sort of slides there. So you don't need to undo the actual plug that goes into the door. We just want to slide this plug off. Now, I know because I've taken this apart before. There's a little tab on the back here, and what you need to do is you need to just push the screwdriver in and just pry that tab back. And if you push the tab towards the door, you'll be able to slide it off. Now, much easier to see from here. That's that little locking tab there that I was talking about. So you wanted to get the screwdriver in from the other side, and just lift that up and push it out. So that's what I was doing while I was on the vehicle. So that's that. So that's pretty much it. We want to run this cable around to the other side here. And where it sits, that's pretty much the position there where the wire is going to be. Now, you see this is obsolete now, so we're going to remove this. And if you have a look at it, it's pretty much a cable tie on a clip. It's a bit of a cable tie on a clip. Now there's a little locking tab there, a little barb. If we just lift it up, we should be able to push this back and see there it's moving there. And from there we can remove this. It's a little bit fiddly. We'll get there. All that dust. go. Slowly. There you go. So that's our clip there. You might be able to retain that and use it somewhere else. Anywhere that you've got a, you see these holes everywhere actually, these little elongated holes on the vehicle. You can use that to hold a wire in place. And that's it. So that's the preparation on the vehicle done. We'll go and attach the camera to the actual bracket and then go through how we install the actual bracket. Now we learnt the hard way that there's 3 different cameras for the current range of Prado 150s out there. So make sure you order the right bracket. So this is the bracket and the camera cutout hole for the early Prado vehicles. So 2009 to about 2014, so the ones with the original headlights. And this bracket here is for all the others. So this fits 2 types of cameras, and you can sort of see the 2 sets of holes there. So anything that has the teardrop shape headlights to all the way to the current model Prado will need this bracket. So make sure you choose the right one. This is the camera bracket that we removed from the car. Quite easy to remove. There's usually a shroud there too with a couple of bolts. I've already removed that, so that's really easy to do. Just remove the screws and retain these screws. We're going to need these. Take note of the orientation of the camera too. The top of the camera has the words on the top of the camera. Now, this bracket sits like this because this is the main bracket, and that gets attached to the plastic sort of handle number plate assembly next to it, and then this is the bracket that allows the adjustment. So what we want, that's the top of the bracket, that's the top of the camera, and that's how you want to install it. Otherwise, all your pictures will be upside down. With the screws that we removed earlier, just reinstall those. There it is. It's camouflaged in the dust. That's probably Simpson dust. We'll get that in there. Okay. So just nice and firm, don't need to go overboard. We're just screwing into the plastic of the camera. So that's the camera there. Okay, now we'll go and install this main bracket on the vehicle, and I'll show you how to do that. And then the last step is to actually attach the camera and tidy up all the cabling. Now it's time to install the main bracket. Now you'll notice there's a bunch of holes on here. That's to allow adjustment for larger tires, but what we want to do actually is we want to position it in this position first, and you'll notice there's a little notch on that hole and the corresponding holes on the bottom. So these 3 holes are used together, and the other 3 holes are used when you want to move it across. But what we want to do, we want to position it there, drill the 2 holes on the bottom so we can mount our screws. We'll go ahead and do that. Quite easy to do. We only need to undo 1 bolt. You should be able to slip that underneath the number plate. Make sure you get the right hole. That's the one there. It's important that we drill the holes in this position so that we're not drilling too many extra holes underneath. So that's in place now. So what we want to do is we want to drill holes in this hole and this hole, the one with a little tiny notch in it. That corresponds with the position on the top. So we'll go do that now. To drill the hole, you'll need to open the door a little so you can get the drill in place. So when you tighten the top hole, just make sure that it's nice and hard up against the plastic. And we just want to drill the hole right in the middle of the plastic there. And do that for both of them. Okay. So if you drill the holes corresponding to the ones with the notches, then when we move it over, we can reuse those holes we've drilled in the plastic already. So once that's done, you want to use your self-tapping screws, 8mm socket. Now, the trick to these is not to over tighten them, just tighten them up until they're firm, just like that. good there. And just for a nice finishing touch, so the silver hardware doesn't stand out too much, we've got these bolt head covers. So just push those on there, just a push fit, and they stay there pretty well. And that's a push fit on. So if you're running just the standard size tyres, say a 31 inch or a 32 inch, with one size up, you probably want to move this main bracket over a little so it's more centered. So I'll just show you how to do that. Now, just remove this. And we've designed this so that we can reuse the holes that we've drilled already. It's pretty handy because if you do decide to go to a bigger tyre later on, you can always move it back. Oops, I'll just open that up. Okay, so we're going to mount it on this hole, which will move it over about 20 millimeters. So there it goes. And if everything's good, yes, the holes line back up again, but now they're on the outside hole. And we can just tighten those ones up. So the picture camera, the camera in the picture is not going to be exactly the same as factory, but moving it over a little bit is going to improve that slightly over the position for the larger tyres. So just put these covers back on. So it's time to fit the smaller bracket to the larger bracket. Now we've got a slot there that allows adjustment. The bolt that goes in the slot in the bottom is slightly longer because we're going to put a washer on the other side to help hold it in place. So the shorter M6 bolt goes in the top with a nylock nut on the back. Be a bit fiddly. Yep. The longer M6 bolt goes on the bottom there. Washer on the other side to cover up the slot, and M6 nylock nut to finish it off. So we'll just get that all on nice loosely. Okay, and now I'll nip that all up and I'll show you how we can adjust it. So 10mm spanner on the back, get this top one just nipped up. So we want to be able to still move it, and we'll adjust the picture to what we want and then tighten everything up. So you can see there I can still adjust it. There's a fair bit of adjustment there depending on what you like. But yeah, so that's that camera attached now. Once we've done that, we want to attach the camera, and just make sure you got the orientation right. Just click it home, make sure you hear the clip. There you go, nice click. Now we want to think about cable management. Now we don't want this just to dangle around, might rub on the tyre or cause some issues. Now, if you don't have enough room for this cable to fit underneath the tyre, we do sell a spacer. So most of the time one spacer will do, but if you have a larger tyre or just want to get a bit more clearance, you can run 2 spacers with the length of the studs on the back of the Prado here. Now, the way we hold this cable in place is we have 2 cable tie points. One's adhesive, and we'll put down here. It's applied in the kit. We'll glue it on here. And the other one is a cable tie mount that bolts underneath the screw. So we'll put this in place first. Now, this screw here is the one that originally holds the black cover on. Now, this is assuming that you're removing the whole cover. So that should actually go over those prongs there. And then just replace the screw, and this would hold it in place, clamp it in place. Now we sort of want to orientate it so that it sits like there, and we'll run a cable tie through there. So I'll just tighten it and run the cable tie through. I won't tighten it right up, but I'll just place it so that we can run the next one. It's nice and neat. And then I'll just position this. I'll just run the cable tie on first and find a nice flat spot. Now you want to clean this off with a bit of isopropyl or something like that to make sure the adhesive sticks properly. I like it in that position, so that looks pretty good. Cable looks like it's in a nice spot. So we'll just stick this one on first. It can be a little bit tricky, these things. There we go. And that looks good there. Just make sure it's sticky. And then once it's all in place, I'll tighten that up. Tighten this one up as well. And that's a good one there because it actually holds that plug in place. And then we just want to trim these off. And there you go. Now that's all installed, we'll put the tyre back on and then we'll adjust the angle of this camera. We've got the tyre back on, checking the clearances to the cable. This is really nice. Cable's not touching anything. Now what we want to do is adjust the angle of that so it suits our view. On the newer vehicles, there's some lines, and of course, because the camera is in a much different position, those lines don't line up anymore, but we just need to adjust this to the angle that's going to work the best for you. So to do that, let's hop in the car. This is the view of the rear camera at the moment. This is one of the early models, so the screen's not massive, but we'll adjust it up and down and see where it might sit well. So that's all the way up. Probably don't want that. You want a bit of a combination so you can see the toe ball here. What you'll find is you'll still have that angle of view to the right and left. But once you're happy, tighten up the bolts and we're good to go. We're happy with the angle now. Just remember, you need to tighten everything up. So get that 10mm socket in there, an Allen key. Try not to bump it. And just tighten that up. Both bolts. So that's all good. Okay, we're done. Camera relocation bracket is all in. So we've moved the camera from the factory position down to here. Allows you to see your tow ball, but also allows you to run a bin bag. Now it's adjustable up and down to suit the view that you want to see. We've got two positions too, so this is in the more central position for smaller tyres, but if you're running a bigger tyre, say a 34, 35 inch, you can actually move it over another 20mm. So there you go, the Prado 150 camera relocation bracket.